creator. Welcome to Odessa Rose Creates. I'm Robin Schmidt and I'm your independent Couture designer, here to share with you my love of crafting and creating with Couture's reusable silkscreen transfers. Today we're going to work on this transfer, the Mistletoe and Kisses. This is designed to go with our block set by Couture, which is this guy right here. There's 3 pieces of wood in here. I'm going to open them up, and each of these pieces of transfer is designed to go perfectly on the size of the block that coordinates with it. So let's get this opened up. And today I'm going to kind of show you how you can make your project look vintage and maybe a little worn without having to sand. Maybe some of you don't have an electric hand sander, or you don't like the mess of sanding. So we're going to do that with some distressed inks to distress it a little bit. And I kind of want to show you how you can do that without, making the mess of using sandpaper. So this is the 3 blocks, and you can create on both sides, which is kind of cool. So if you have a situation where you're going to set these where you walk around, like a sofa table, coffee table, or your kitchen island, something like that, you could create the same on both sides. Or if it's going to be up against a wall, maybe you want to do 2 different seasons. So you could do a holiday season and then an everyday, or maybe fall and Christmas, something like that. So you could just flip them over. Today we will eventually do both sides. I'll probably just show you one side so I don't have to bore you with doing both sides. But we're going to wrap the edges with scrapbook paper. I find that's a fun way to bring in pattern, texture, color into our designs without having to have a lot of transfers maybe for a background. So I really like the vintage style papers if I'm going to make something, with a vintage flair. So these are the papers I pulled out. I'm going to use just a really soft palette of like a pesto green and a deep gray and this cream color. So not working with red, I'm just going to keep it a little more neutral. And this is the back side of the paper. I won't be using this side, but I am going to use these 2 sides and then this side. Okay, so those are the papers we're going to put around the edge. But first we're going to paint the blocks in these coordinating colors. So I actually grabbed some craft paints. I'm going to grab the green. I think I forgot that one. So I've got like a forest moss, some medium grays, and I might have to add just a hint of brown to that to kind of bring it to this gray color. I couldn't find the exact craft paint. And then I have, this creamy parchment color, which is kind of the background color of this paper. So we're going to paint the 3 blocks, and we need to decide what color is going to go on which block, and that kind of depends on what transfer is going on each block. So the mistletoe piece, it goes on the small square. So I'll probably want to paint this one either the cream or the gray. And then kisses are free. Goes on 1. And then we have mistletoe, cut daily, 25 cents, right? So let's think about this. I think I want to maybe do this one in the cream, and then I'll have the green. And then that leaves green and gray. So I might sometimes, if you're going to stack these up, like you can stack these, display them stacked like this. And so if you're going to stack them, maybe you want your heavy or your deepest color on the bottom to weight it down. So that would be the dark gray. But these also work great if you have a nice big 3-tiered tray. Maybe you're going to put 1 in each section. They fit perfectly in my I have a big 3-tier tray, and the bottom tray definitely holds this size, and so it'll be like this in the 3 tiers. So again, I'm going to use the deeper, darker color as the base. So I'm going to do that in the dark gray, and then we'll do this one in the green and this one in the cream. Okay, so to help me remember that, I'm going to place the color on the blocks. So I'm going to set this all aside. I'm going to bring up a piece of cardboard to paint on. Might need a little bit bigger piece than that. That way the paint will get on my mat. These mats here are also sold by Couture. So you can check those out too. So we're going to do the gray with a little bit of brown. So let's grab a paintbrush. And I'm going to get it wet. And we're just going to put on some of this medium gray. There we go. And then I'm going to just put in a hint of brown with that. Just kind of get a little bit closer to the tone of the gray in the paper. And I'm just blending it right on my block. If I can get the brown out. There we go. So I'm going to wet my brush and just kind of mix these a little bit. And you don't really have to paint the edges because we are going to put paper on them. But I do like to do like the actual corner edge, because if the paper doesn't come, you know, all the way up, then you won't see the whiteness of the block if you got that edge painted. As far as the sides, you don't really need to paint that. But I am going to brush it a little bit just to cover that edge up, so the paper, if the paper doesn't hide it completely, you're not going to see the whiteness of the original color of the block. Okay, so I'm just kind of smoothing that out, and I'm going to dry it real quick and we'll flip it over and do the other side. Okay, I'm going to mix some more of this paint for the back side. Till I'm getting towards the end of my bottle. Stand it on its end so that I can paint both sides. So I'm just kind of blending in the gray and the brown, and it's getting kind of this mousy color. This looks great. A little bit more on this side. There were some areas that were quite a bit lighter. Okay. Smoothing it out. Making sure I have those edges covered with paint. And I'm going to give it a dry. cool, and I didn't even plan this, but I brushed this with the brush when it was starting to dry, and then it kind of just messed up the paint, but what it really looks like is chippy old paint. Now it kind of roughed it up a little bit, so I'm thinking about using this on the back side and not chalking my transfer on the back, but just to make it look like an old vintage board that's worn. It looks really cool. This side's more smooth, so this is the side we'll chalk on. We're gonna set this aside and we'll move on to the next color. We're gonna do this green, mossy green color. Get my brush. And it even has some of the gray left in it, which I'm okay with because it just kind of, again, stresses down the brightness of the color. And you're just kind of getting those edges so that the paper doesn't, if the paper doesn't come all the way to the edge, you're going to cover that up with the green. Okay. Now this one I didn't put on quite so thick of paint. It's kind of more stain looking. All right, let's do the other side. Same idea. If your brush is wet, like mine is, it'll kind of give it, you know, a watered down version of the paint, which kind of makes it look more like stain. You'll still see that wood grain look through it, which I kind of like. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to put on a bunch of coats, so I'm just going to leave it that green stain colored. And I'm just, again, getting my edges painted for that paper. Okay, and then I just want to make sure my brush strokes are even across. All right, so here's the green. You can still see the grain of the wood. It's got that little bit of that gray still on the brush, so it kind of gave it a really cool, worn, old, vintage look, which is what we want. And then this one, don't want to leave white. We're going to go in with the cream color. And this one's called Parchment. And I guess I've never used it. It's not open, or either that or I just unscrewed the lid. Let's get it opened up here. Get the plastic off. There we go. And I'm going to clean out my water. If that had been just grayish water, I probably would have been okay, but it had some green in it, and I really don't want any green in this piece now. And I probably don't want too wet of a brush because this is going to be, you know, pretty light color. So this is it's a pretty color. Parchment by Folk Art. Okay, we'll try that and flip it over. this side. All right. Okay, so now we have our 3 pieces that are going to coordinate with our paper. So those are the colors that we're going to use, right? Now we're going to add our paper strips to the outer edge, and then I will do a little bit of stained wax on it just to kind of, again, vintage it a little bit, and it kind of helps when you put it on the paper and then over into the wood, it kind of just makes it all smooth and almost feel like one texture to the touch. So I kind of like doing that, especially on these pieces that I can get the wax down into. So to our papers. Now we want to measure the width of your blocks, and these are wider than our other cutouts, which are 3/4 of an inch, like our trees, snowflakes, everything, the hearts, the houses. They are narrower, 3/4 of an inch, but these are an inch. So we need to cut inch wide strips of our paper, okay? And then we need to decide what paper is going on which. So we're going to do this on here, this one on the green one, right? And the mistletoe on this. So we can get an idea of what our patterns are, our transfer patterns. I'm going to get the paint out of the way here. So we have the little trees. See those? We have this little, it's just kind of a berry, and then we have this one. Which has a little bit more pine and poinsettia, pine cone type look to it. Okay, so I think I want to bring the green into the bottom one with the gray. And then we can do, either one of these up here. I might do the dark one on that one and the lighter one, yeah, on the green. So let's start out with the green strips for here. We need 1 inch. So get your paper cutter and cut 1 inch strips. And we'll see how many we need. Probably 3 at least. Make sure your strips are going to be straight. So yeah, 3 for that size. All right, we got that one. And then we were going to use the dark side for this. So we're going to cut some more 1 inch strips. This is definitely going to just take 2, maybe a little less than 2. Let's wait and see if we have some of this left over to use on this block. before I cut any more. That's a possibility. It'll be close. And then this one has some red right here on the corner. I mean, that's the design of it. And I really don't want the red in my design, so I'm gonna cut from the top. I gotta cut off the label. And it even has a little bit of red up in there. 1 inch. Two strips should cut that. Okay. All right, so now we need our Mod Podge and another brush. And I like to use these pieces of cardboard that are pieces, wood block pieces come in. All of our wood cutouts. So grab our Mod Podge and our brush. And I don't want too thin of a coat, but you don't want it super thick and sloppy, but you need a pretty decent coverage. Some of it will ooze out when you press it on, but you want enough to get absorbed into the paper and into your wood. All right, and I'm going to do it a little bit so it goes around the corner. So just press it on, make sure your edges line up with the wood block edges. And just press it down, make sure you get your air pockets out and any excess glue or Mod Podge. See, it's looking really pretty. And then once you get that in place, go to your next strip. And I just butt the ends up right. Don't try to overlap them, just butt them right up next to each other. Press around that corner. Right, and a little bit more. I don't think we'll have to trim off too much. And trim off right where the papers meet. I'll cut my finger. No, I don't think I did. It felt like it. Okay. So just make sure everything is pressed on tight, and you've got your block now with the paper on it. It's gonna look cute with the mistletoe cut daily on that side. So we got that one done. Now we can move on to this piece. I'm gonna go ahead and continue with the piece I just trimmed off. Hopefully that'll be enough to finish out the whole block. Whoop. I gotta use the other side. Bob forgot. Gotta wipe this glue off. Let that dry. I'll let that dry. We'll go ahead and do this one. I was gonna put the same color on the outside, but I want the other side of the paper. There we go. Continue to go around. That piece might not be enough anyway. Let's take a look. Oh, it's just fits perfect. So that's nice to know. Okay, so I'm gonna get this on here. And then I'm gonna, since I got glue on that side, I'm just gonna paint the block. Usually I prefer to paste the paper, but since I got glue on it and it's not quite dry, I don't want to get it stuck to my cardboard. So I'm just going to line this up and then put this side down. Okay. We'll let that one sit. And now we've got the last one to do with these little trees. So let's glue that on. Let's see. I'll turn it around. The trees are obviously going in one direction, and I want this to be the front. So I want the trees to be right side up across the top. So I flipped it around. Like that. I just like this side better because it has a little bit more of that brown in it, and it just looks a little more. All right, now let's do the last piece. Picked up here. And make sure your trees are going in the same direction. Lighten that up. Way around and then trim that to meet there. So now we have this one done, right? So we throw our paint in the brush in the water and get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay, awesome. So now we got our blocks with our paper on them. And now we want to put a little bit of wax over the paper, the sides with the paint on it, everything, before we put our transfers on. It'll just seal everything in and make it easier for our transfers not to stick to this paint. And you can use any furniture wax or paint wax. This is a stained one. That just makes it a little bit more aged again with the stain on it. But it doesn't have to be stained. And another thing is this paint really hasn't had time to cure, right? So it's kind of nice before you put a sticker on it, our sticky transfer, that you don't want that paint picking up off the wood because it hasn't cured yet. So but I like to go ahead and put the wax on the paper. Kind of gets into the grooves along here. If there's any gaps, it kind of fills in and just looks like it all blends in together. Okay. And the back side. Also, the stained wax kind of darkens the edge of the paper, which is white after cutting it. So right where it's just very, the very edge of the paper, it'll darken that down too. And so will our distressed ink. If we put some of that on afterwards, it'll also do that. Okay, so we got it all covered with the wax on this piece. We'll continue to do the other ones. Okay. Still have a little popping up of the paper, so I'm pressing it down, make sure it's sticking. And then this one. Okay. And there's that one. So now we're ready to chalk. And we got, let me just clean this off a little bit. I'm gonna grab a wet wipe. I have a feeling there's some glitter on here from other projects. So I'm just kind of picking it up. All right. This is the front side. So I got my trees going in the right direction. Now I need to dry it. Didn't think it was that wet, but I think it is. Okay, kisses are free. And I'm just probably going to do this all in Storm. Just press that on, make sure you got your air pockets out. This might be Storm that I've darkened a little bit with some black. And that kind of gives me that same gray tone that's in this here. Okay. And I also have Dune to use on these and Pesto. It's a mix. I might do Dune right here on these lines. But everything else will be in the darkened Storm. Yes, I did mix some black in this because I can see a little bit of streaks of it as I chalk. And then down here. All right. I always like to get rid of the squeegee lines. So we have it like this. There we are. Kisses are free. That turned out pretty. It's going to look great with these other pieces. So we'll set that aside. Let it dry. I might just hit it with the dryer a little bit. Okay, now let's do the mistletoe piece. I decide which side I want to put it on. There we go. This has a lot of detail in such a small little transfer. I mean, you could do the ribbon in one color. You can try to get the berries in another color. Of course, mistletoe berries are actually white, not red. Red is a holly berry. Mistletoe berry is white, the way I understand it. So if I were to make my berries white, I'd have to do a white. I don't know if they'd show up very well on this, but I think I will try it with white. And then actually what I might do is later hit it with some little white puffy paint or something, just with this little fine tip, and hit them with that after it's, you know, dried and everything. But I'm going to try to make the ribbon in this gray color and everything else in the green, and then I'll come over with the tip of this, or you could use like the white chalk pin, something like that, and just hit it with the white. Yeah, so I'm going to grab a multi-tool and get this ribbon filled in with the gray. This is when you need that multi-tool to get in these small areas. And then wipe that off and put in green for the stems and everything else. And I'm going to lift this up because I don't want that paste drying in that silk screen as I come down here and finish it out. I could move to a larger squeegee, but I'll just continue to use this multi-tool. Okay. Just smoothing out my squeegee lines. And we'll pull that off. Like that. And then I'll hit those little berries with that little white, either the white chalk pin or this little thing of tulip paint. And that'll just pop those berries off a little bit. But you can see we're coming together with our colors, coordinating them. And now that leaves the big one here. Make sure I got this upside that I wanted. And mistletoes cut daily. So we can put gray and the green and the cream on this one. So I think I'll do mistletoe and the pesto, and then cut daily 25 cents in the dune. Make sure you get all your silk screens filled in. Skim it down. Okay. And now to our dune. Cut daily, 25 cents. What a bargain. Can't say that I've actually priced mistletoe, fresh mistletoe. 25 cents seems like a bargain. Okay, we got that smooth. And now we can take this one off. Get hold of it. There, mistletoe. Isn't that cute? Just shoot me some stars, or some hearts, I mean, if you love it. We'll wash those silk screens so we can do this again on another block. Maybe you want to do another color scheme with some red in it. I'm kind of liking this. It's a little dark, so I'm thinking about trying a lighter green on it. Let's see what we got. This actually shimmer olive would be perfect if you want to add in some shimmer, but we could go, I don't know about sage. How about, that's two different sages. This is an old sage, it's a lot darker than that one. I'm thinking that might be the color. What's this? Kiwi. That's probably so old that it doesn't even work. Pesto. I think we might have to go. Well, the shimmer olive would be perfect. I just don't really want much shimmer on it. So I can bring the transfer back. I'll line it back on top and go over it with a lighter color of green, just so it shows up on this gray. This is really the color I want, but I don't really want to shimmer. But I might put just a little bit in it just to blend it with this sage. So what I'm going to do is kind of put it across the middle like this. Across the middle. And then I'm going to bring in some sage from the top. Like that. And from the bottom. And then I'm just going to run it across. Okay, so there it is. Let's see if I tightened it up a little bit. There we go. It's kind of fun. Got that little two-tone going on there. All right. I can definitely read it better now with the lighter color. So that is great. Pick up some of the mess here. Now we just need to do a little bit of distressed ink and we will be good to go. This doesn't take long. These out of the way. And since I'm working with grays, I do have a pumice stone gray color. You could bring a little bit of the gathering twigs, which is kind of that brown but kind of grayish. And so these are by Tim Holtz, which is by Ranger, and you can get little packets of these at your craft stores. And do you need to do this? No, but it's kind of fun. Just kind of, once I get it on here, kind of darkens the edges a little bit. I'm gonna dry that real quick before I mess it up. I feel like nothing is sticking to my thing here. Trying to see if it's coming off on my hand. Maybe just because it's dark. Let's try it on this one. Just kind of darkens the edge and kind of brings it in like the vignette on your photo op app. Okay. I think the twig works a little better on this coloring. Go darker, but I really don't want to use a darker distressed ink. I'm going to stick with this lighter one. Okay, so here's our blocks. You can set them up like this, put them separate them in a 3-tiered tray, something like that. Let me see if I can pick it up. It's cute. All right, there's our papers on there. So when they set individually, you can see the color theme come out. So yeah, fun. So that was our project today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to work with scrapbook paper on the edges, painting our wood cutouts, distressing them without having to sand by using stained wax and distressed ink. All helps vintage it down. Of course, using vintage paper helps because it already has that worn vintage look on the papers themselves. So that helps too. So have a great day, and I will chalk with you later. Bye.